There's a story here that John and I have fairly different opinions on. It's all about France and swimming pools and tax and surveillance. Anyway, we're going to talk more. John will introduce it in today's Not So Critical Update.
France is grossly overstepping, in my opinion, their usage of Google Maps and AI by revealing hidden swimming pools that people haven't paid taxes on or gotten like proper zoning licenses or whatever, and then fining them. And in my opinion, this is absolutely terrible. I don't think neither Peter or Mike agree, but that's what this show is about. So I'm not really happy with the way that France is kind of inching towards, which is what I told you guys, it's inching towards what feels like an absolute surveillance state. And I don't mean state as in a country, I mean the current state of things, that you're just constantly going to be looked at. And
that's indisputable.
That's a huge issue.
You are.
Yes, indubitably.
Okay,
you already are.
As we spoke about in an earlier episode, there is a difference between commercial surveillance and government surveillance, and it's safe to assume that one helps the other. Commercial helps government, but when we're going to get to a point where every single thing you do is monitored and logged and then checked against potential laws being broken, like that's dystopia. That's nightmare.
Right.
And this is inching towards that. This is just France taking a small step, checking like, okay, they look left and right and they're like, no one gives a shit yet. Let's take another small step.
Yeah, but okay. Right. So what I think is that you've just kind of, I think you've admitted that you're wrong by saying that they're inching towards it. Seriously, I think the fact that you're saying they're inching towards it means that they're not there yet.
Correct.
And that means it's okay. I think that these are. What do you mean? No,
it's a ridiculous argument.
Basic. What?
That argument is insane. You're like, oh, just because I drew a gun on you doesn't mean I was going to shoot you. I was just moving in that direction. Nothing happened yet.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's.
What do you mean? That's what you're saying. The gun has been pulled. Yet. Right. Right.
And Peter takes that as more proof that he was right. Got it.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, no, wait, that's proving my point.
I genuinely don't understand it. So if I pull a gun on you, is that illegal? Yep. That's illegal.
We're not talking about illegal though. Illegal or legal, it doesn't matter. What's your intent?
I just don't want to be shot.
You're pointing the gun at me. What's your intent? To shoot me. That's why you pull a gun on someone. The gun is facing you, a person, nothing else around me. It's not like he's doing that classic movie trope where like he pulls the gun on you and shoots, but it actually goes next to you and shoots something behind you.
I'm trying to shoot. Like he's Peter Duck. I'm going to shoot John.
Right.
Okay. Lately we seem to be having this thing about really overly complex metaphors, but let me just try and extract that and see if I'm getting this right.
Go ahead.
So I think in this case it's more like going hunting with you and pulling out a gun in your vicinity.
Nope.
Which is okay. I think that's fine because I have another purpose for it, and it's not actually.
because you would say this is about this is about intent. So their intent is to monitor everyone for this.
Whoa,
that's crazy.
Whoa, there is a glitch in the mic today.
I don't know what just happened.
In the mic tricks.
Oh my god! We've finally found out that Mike is actually just a badly coded AI.
He's actually just AI. It all makes sense now. This is the coalition of marketers wrote Mike.
Keep going. I'm going to see if I can figure out how to fix this in the background.
Wait, Mike actually just stands for Marketing Intelligence something KE.
Creation.
With a K. So it's all about the intent. And the intent of Mike right now is to fix his camera.
No, I
trying.
think their intent is just to reclaim unpaid taxes. This is
Yeah,
people who
sure.
are skimping
And
on
then
a
the side effect of that is, well, now we're just watching everyone.
but that's happening
We
anyway. They're
spoke
not
about
using-
happy mistakes. But no, right. Passive surveillance and active surveillance. So passive surveillance, that's happening anyway. Google Maps is taking these pictures, right?
Yeah.
Active surveillance, the government is now using these
He's
tools
rebooted.
to compare, to compare against like laws. So specifically here, they use the address of these homes and they say, oh, look, this person hasn't registered their pool. They didn't get the proper zoning laws. They didn't do this or that. And then next inch forward is, well, we're going to have cameras on every streetlight facing all directions. And if that person whose face I'm now running against a central database of passports crosses the street when they weren't supposed to, we're going to send a ticket to their registered address.
But that's going to happen. I think this is so we talked about this story yesterday for about 20 minutes and had to scrap that recording. So if we didn't cover some of the groundwork again in this video, sorry. But basically they're using Google Earth to scan homes in France. And if they see a pool via this AI recognition software, they'll compare that to the property records to see if they're being taxed correctly. And if not, they'll fix that. And they have already generated about 10 million euros in new tax revenue. I think
they're projecting, using this with pools, they're projecting a total recoup of 40 mil.
Yeah.
Right.
So
they're a quarter of the way there.
So I actually don't have a problem with any of that. Yeah. However, to the bigger picture, to the bigger like idea here, when Google Maps came out with satellite imagery, like that was just incredible technology. Everyone was blown away. It was such a fun thing. Of course, somebody's going to use it for this. Of course, once it's successful doing this, they're going to use it for the next thing that's even more invasive. Every possible timeline ends in a dystopian future.
Yes, that's true.
So enjoy the ride. Fuck it.
Every technologist's utopian future is one step away from a dystopian nightmare. I 100%.
Yeah, I know, but I can still dislike this.
But let me. All right, I want to make some other points. I have more points to make.
Oh boy.
So
okay.
Buckle in. Right.
I'm going to work on my camera some more. Hold on. Go ahead. Go ahead. You just go, Peter. It's fine.
Wait. Okay. So one of the questions that we had from last night was would it be okay if I was just wandering around a neighborhood and making a note of who had a pool around there? And like if somebody had this is publicly available data, right? These satellite images. You can go to Google Maps and look yourself to see who's got a photo or not. The only difference here is that they're using some kind of AI with image recognition software to do it automatically. Apparently, there was it would miss identified solar panels at one point and have an error rate of 30%, which honestly sounds terribly
high.
I know it's very high. You're right.
And that's extra work for those poor people who are getting those reports sent home saying you owe this much for your pool, and they're like, I don't fucking have a pool, idiots.
I don't know if they put that into practice. That's just what was in the article. I don't know if anything was sent out for that. But yeah, it's just a detail. But the point is that. So I wanted to know from Jon: is it because it's the use of technology that you have a problem with? Is it because it's like at scale?
It's at scale. I think that's my biggest fear, is the fact that it's being used on such a large scale. And when we say a large scale, it isn't, right? We're talking about like a really small sub of a % of people who this affects. And I think that's a big reason why everyone's so cool with it, because majority of the people are like, I don't fucking have a pool, right?
Also,
and then
sorry. Yes.
Well, I was just going to say, then the next step is all the people who are barbecuing when they're not supposed to be barbecuing on like patios and stuff, let's say. And then we're again taking another small inch towards total control of your everyday life.
So what if it's a case where there's no privacy issue if they have cameras at roadside to catch speeders? You now have a system that can almost 100% identify if somebody's speeding, take a picture of the license plate, and issue a ticket. So there's no like, oh, is there a cop ahead? Maybe I'll slow down. Just if you go through this and you're speeding, 100% enforcement, you're going to get a ticket. No privacy issues. Is that okay or not happens, okay?
Right?
That system has been in place in some countries for like
30 in the UK
years.
For a long time.
In Sweden and the UK,
really?
And a lot of European countries. Oh yeah. In America, it is not, because it's scrutinized, because it's like automated use. And I think one big issue Americans had with it was you cannot prove that I was the one driving. I wasn't the one driving. Just because the car's registered under my name, I wasn't the one driving.
But so let's say we solve all that. Like, is that an ethical system?
I still don't like it. Is it ethical?
I get it feels a bit icky, but I can't find in my head a real reason why it's a bad thing. These people are breaking the law. They're not paying the taxes. It's tax fraud. And I think that's a big reason why people don't have a problem with it, because it's criminal. It's, maybe minor criminal.
It's like a civil crime, and it doesn't even make them criminals. It's like they didn't pay taxes on their fucking pool. But France is so anal that they're like, oh, well, you didn't pay taxes, so now you don't not only owe the taxes, but here's also a massive fine. Like, fuck you.
What? No, but they should be like that. That's what
France is literally just shoving their fist just so far up these people.
Oh, come on. That comparison is a bit heavy, man. I mean,
no, they're like, France.
They're just like, God, people are just going around and murdering people. Oh, dear. I like... Oh, I make such a big deal about a little murder.
But what's the problem here versus ShotSpotter? Everyone hates ShotSpotter.
Well, the biggest difference for me here is that they're not doing anything different. They're just using what's available in a different way. So ShotSpotter, they're deliberately going around and placing these microphones with the specific intent of capturing audio, right? Mm-hmm. It's slightly different because I don't know. I mean, there's similarities in that this is like a public place, and I suppose anybody could go and put those things around. But the data that's recorded is not going to be generally available to everybody. It's not like the police are opening up the ShotSpotter audio records to everybody. But this is just like Google Images, right?
That distinction that you just made about ShotSpotter, though, doesn't. I don't find that to be very compelling. However, the consequences of the system are significantly different. They're like, what if you just put surveillance as a concept on even ground? I don't think that makes a difference. But if you're using that to arrest and imprison people for major crimes using a system that's known to be faulty, like, that's the problem with ShotSpotter.
And this system is known to be faulty with a 30%.
But their consequences are much lower.
Well, the previous version.
But we're not really okay. So sure, the consequences are lower, but on the I guess most rudimentary level, this is mass surveillance going through a system that's fairly automated and locking in on a location for authorities, be it police or civil authorities, to pursue criminals, if you will.
Yeah, I think it's close to the line, but not over it. That's the thing.
So if you've got surveillance that can enforce property tax laws, and you've got surveillance that can enforce speeding laws and traffic laws, and you've got surveillance that can capture, like, I guess perfect. I think the core of my problem is that perfect enforcement would just reveal that everybody's guilty of something. So does that mean everybody's going to go to prison because now all of a sudden we have the ability to find out everything everyone is doing?
Like, no, but everyone's not going to get fined because it's an automated system that's sending these fines out.
But a lot of times it's not going to be fines. It's going to be jail time. And even if it is just fines, you're just going to be getting fine after fine after fine until now you're bankrupt and you get kicked out of your house and you go to jail for being homeless.
Yep.
Okay. That I have a problem with, but that's not this. That's a result
of... That's exactly what I'm saying.
I'm on John's side. It's a foot in the door.
That's exactly what I'm saying. It is one small step and we will continuously take these small steps until Mike's image is a reality.
John
unless someone's like, whoa, what the fuck is going on? We can't be doing this, because the people who are making the laws, the people who are enforcing these laws and putting these systems in place are also breaking the same laws. Double parking, like
I get
pulling,
that
like,
sucks.
just various small, tiny things that will amount to a perfect society. Is that what we want to call this, right? Where you can't commit any crime, you can't even walk outside at night without being scared that you're going to be pulled automatically.
All right, John. Since Peter's the one that's wrong, we'll give him 15 seconds for the final word.
Go ahead, Peter.
You're just going to edit this and cut me off, I bet.
Is this what you want to use your time for, Peter?
Fuck off. It's too late now anyway. When is this podcast becoming Mike's going to say, right, you've got 15 seconds later, that's all you get now. I'm going to try that on you and see how far it gets.
The man who pushes, the guy with the buttons controls the show.
If it was doing anything new, anything extra, if it was putting more sensors in place or doing some kind of scanning or surveillance that wasn't already in place, I would have a much bigger problem with it. And if I think that there is a line and it is edging towards it, but I don't, for me at least, isn't close enough to that line for me to have a big problem with this. I would rather it didn't happen, because I would rather people just paid their fucking tax. But if there's 20,000 people in France who aren't paying their tax for the swimming pools, then come on, that's a serious amount of money that's being defrauded out of the government.
Not that big of a deal. Not that big of a deal. Not for them. We're talking about 10 million euros. That's a drop in the bucket for the overall taxes that France.
See, now I am going to have to edit it back there.
All right. I'm done.